Hi there! In this video, we will discuss the summary of the 31st chapter of El Filibusterismo, or The Reign of Greed, written by Dr. Jose Rizal, titled The High Official. We will also study the important events, characters, settings, and lessons found in this chapter. Listen and watch carefully, as you will learn a lot from this historical work by Rizal. Let's begin. Despite the tragedy that Julie experienced, it was never mentioned in the newspapers. Instead, the news focused on events in Europe and praises for the general, highlighting his so-called kindness. Most of the students, including Makarag and Isagani, were already released from prison, but Basilio remained behind bars, accused of owning prohibited books. The high official attempted to defend Basilio, mentioning that he was a good student and was close to finishing his medical studies. However, a disagreement arose between him and the Governor-General. According to the Governor-General, Basilio needed to remain in prison to serve as an example and maintain the government's authority. For the Governor-General, it was important to maintain fear and discipline through punishment, even without sufficient reason. The high official tried to express his fear that the people might revolt if their rights continued to be trampled upon and put at risk. However, the Governor-General declared that he did not care about the Filipinos because it was not they who gave him power, but Spain. For the Governor-General, the power and prestige of the government were more important than the welfare of the Filipinos. The argument continued until it reached the point where the high official expressed his disappointment. He pointed out that, as a Spaniard, honor and morality were more important than power or national interest. He emphasized that Spain should treat the Filipinos with justice, as this was what the kings of Spain had promised. He also warned that if the oppression of the Filipinos continued, there would be an uprising, and they would gain the sympathy of honorable and justice-loving people. At the end of their argument, it was clear that the two did not agree. The high official, though he expressed his concern for the Filipinos, ended up speaking with deep sadness and disappointment. He left the palace, immediately resigned from his position, and decided to return to Spain. Now, let's move on to the important events in this chapter. The tragedy that happened to Julie was not mentioned in the newspapers, which instead focused on other news like events in Europe and praises for the Governor-General. Most of the students, such as Makarag and Isagani, had already been freed, but Basilio remained imprisoned due to accusations of owning banned books. The high official attempted to defend Basilio and informed the Governor-General that Basilio was a good student and close to finishing his medical studies, but this was rejected by the Governor-General, who insisted that Basilio needed to be made an example. A heated argument occurred between the Governor-General and the high official about the proper governance of the Filipinos. The official emphasized that the Filipinos should be treated with justice, while the Governor-General insisted that the authority and power of Spain were more important. After the intense discussion, the high official resigned from his position in protest of the Governor-General's unjust governance and decided to return to Spain as soon as possible. Important characters. High official, a righteous and fair government official who defended the Filipinos and believed in proper governance. He showed concern and care for the rights of the Filipinos, particularly in Basilio's case. Governor-General, the highest-ranking official of the government in the Philippines, who decided to keep Basilio in prison as an example to maintain the government's authority. He is portrayed as powerful but indifferent to the welfare of the Filipinos. Basilio, a medical student imprisoned for possessing banned books. He was the center of the discussion between the high official and the Governor-General. Ben Zabe, a journalist who reported news favoring the Spaniards and praised the Governor-General. Although not a main character in this chapter, he was mentioned as part of the society that hides the truth. Padre Camorra, a friar mentioned at the beginning of the chapter who was removed from his post and stayed temporarily in Manila after the controversial events in the town of Tiani. Let us now proceed to the setting of this chapter. The setting of this chapter is the Governor-General's palace in Manila. Here are some of the lessons, messages, or implications shown in this chapter. Power should not be used to oppress or harm the innocent. Instead, it should be used for justice and the welfare of the majority. Morality and principles are important in governance. Having a position or authority comes with the responsibility to do what is right and just. Injustice and abuse of power can lead to anger and rebellion from the oppressed citizens, which may result in chaos or uprising. And that concludes the 31st chapter of El Filibusterismo, titled The High Official. What have you learned from this chapter? Share your answers in the comments. We also encourage you to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated with our future videos. Until next time, thank you for watching.